Hello, all.
Hey Marie.
So nice to see the early birds. And Ashley, thank you for sending that updated agenda. I just added a couple things just for future notes while
Hmm.
we're here. Um, if you could add after the UHESA update,
Oh,
if
yeah.
you
I don't
add
know why those
a
are missing.
So I'm going to just add, just so you know,
Mhm.
a Board of Trustees recap update and Academic Senate.
Yes, they were. Yes, we talked about that and they were on there and then now they're not. So, yep, I will get those
Excellent.
added
Thank
to the
you.
template.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for inviting the myriad folks who wanted to join our general meetings. Be very exciting to see what attendance is like today.
Mhm.
So lovely to see people joining on this fantastic first Wednesday of the month. All right, 2 minutes to 2. This is very exciting. I wish we had a big like countdown clock or a ball that we drop, like New Year's, something in there. Great. All right. Give it another minute or two. Just give a pitch before we get started. Make sure you're participating in the Clear the Air Challenge. In fact, this is a reminder to myself since you can earn credit from teleworking, telecommuting. So we can all be participating. Hey, let's give this group one more minute and then we'll get underway. Excellent. I feel like staff council general meetings should have a theme song or something. Some like music that we play is kind of an intro and an outro. So any musicians on this call, please ping me. I think it would be kind of fun. Know one or two people. Yes, Blake. Yes, you're in charge. How do we get some? Okay, Ashley, let's talk about this next time. How do we get some intro and outro music? Because sitting in silence, gotta say, is a little weird. All right. Okay, well, I say let's get going. It is 1 minute after the hour. Welcome to our October General Staff Council meeting. Thank you all for joining. And we got a lot on the calendar today. So just before we kick it off, I just want to remind everyone of our well, Melissa, yeah, Krista, I'm looking, Taylor Swift, all ideas open for music for our next meeting. Um, anyway, I just want to remind everyone of sort of our 4 pillars that we like to keep in mind whenever we gather together, which is to keep a sense of professionalism, teamwork, assume positive intent. And I've modified the last one a little because it was too many words for me. So I'm going right now with fostering community. And if anybody has any feedback for me or better words, please do let me know. But yeah, we are all here to help support one another and staff here on campus. So let me pass this over to Ashley to review minutes.
Hello, everyone. I sent out the minutes from our September meeting, and I also posted them on Teams numerous times. Sorry about that. And so we did not receive any revisions. And so I would need a motion and a second to vote.
I motion.
You move to approve the minutes?
Yeah.
Moved. Okay.
Ashley,
And
I can second.
thank you. And all in favor of approving the minutes, please raise your hand and leave it up for just a few minutes.
Do you want digital hand only?
Yeah, because I can't scroll through it, and it will count for me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any opposed? Sorry, you can lower your hands. Sorry. There's got to be a better way.
All right, Bryant, are you opposed?
Okay. Any opposed? Few people still have their hands up. And okay. All right, well, we passed 45-2.
Yay!
Thank you very much.
All right, excellent. Okay, I think next on our list are just a couple updates so everybody is aware what's going on around the university and around the state. Bryant, do you want to give a quick update on all things UHESA?
Yeah, sure. The only thing we currently have, there will be a research education, um, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Seminar?
Presentation. Yeah, panel presentation on the 23rd of October. We'll be posting the flyer for that and how you could register to join. It's completely free. It's going to be a conversation between some of the leaders here at the University of Utah and their in research, leaders in research, and how they got to where they're going and resources that they have and that the university has to help advance your career in research if you'd like to join us in research. This is being presented by UHESA in collaboration with the Research Education Group here at the University of Utah, which is under the Vice President of Research. I will be the moderator for this. It should be a really interesting conversation. We'd all like you to come and join us and ask any questions that you have, and it'll be a great day, hopefully. And then it'll be it's on October 23rd from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Excellent. And Brian, before I forget, if you have a chance to send me some logos, that would be incredible.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Allison Lord to get back to me on it. We'll be in the office tomorrow together, and she's right next to me, so I'll go and bother her.
Excellent. Excellent. Any questions about UHESA? All right. And then I wanted to just give a couple updates. One, the Board of Trustees meeting was on September 10th. And some highlights, probably I think the biggest highlight of that meeting was a presentation about an approval by the board about our new 3P project, which is a public-private partnership to build the new dorms at what we knew for a few years as CalArt parking. The group doing the building needed the trustees' approval, which they did receive. So that building has commenced. But what was very interesting about this is there were uh, some really cool questions from the trustees, particularly around student life, what the dining experience was going to be like, what exercise options would be, and parking. So one of the takeaways from that meeting was that the folks from real estate return, I believe, to the November trustees meeting to give more details to them around the master plan and how all of those items are being addressed. So thought that was pretty fascinating to actually hear the trustees themselves bring up parking. So more to come, but just wanted you all to know. And then the other meeting I was at this week that was really fascinating on Monday, the 30th, was the Academic Senate meeting. And again, super fascinating meeting. What struck me really was two presentations from Mitzi Montoya's office, Academic Affairs. One is, I don't know if everyone knows, but Academic Affairs has kicked off an organizational restructuring efficiency project where they are pulling together the deans of College of Science, College of Humanities, CSBS, and the School of Cultural and Social Transformation. And they are looking at ways to see if there are opportunities to streamline some of their administrative services. And if you want to know more, if you go to academic-affairs.utah.edu and just scroll down a little on the homepage, you'll see a section that describes this project that Mitzi has kicked off, and has more details about what their next steps are and what they're looking at. But pretty interesting considering there are also, oh yes, thank you, Arena. It was also called out in At the U on Monday. And also really interesting because there are also some other groups working on operational excellence. So there are lots of consultants all over campus looking at ways for the university to streamline and sort of reallocate funds, better use of our funds, I guess. Yeah, so anywho, and Arena is just adding some comments in the chat about it's a big combination of all across campus data analytics teams. So pretty fascinating. And Arena, maybe we chat and get an update from you on future just to learn more about it. Oh, and David put the link, the URL in the chat. Thank you very much. But just wanted to raise that here, just so folks are aware. And then the other thing that was very interesting, and many of you may know or may not know that the status of our new cultural center in student affairs was scheduled to be on UUSC's docket for their October meeting to officially approve our proposal for how we've created a new, we have a new resource center and we have a new cultural center. And Lori McDonald announced at that meeting that it turns out we are not on the agenda for UUSC's October meeting, hoping to be on the November meeting, but more to come. Has not been announced, but I wanted to share that with everybody. So, any questions, comments? Okay. All right. Well then, looking at the time, I say let's move on to some committee updates before our first presentation at 2:30. So, Susan, what's going on with development?
Hi. So we're just it's moving a little slowly, but we're just continuing working on our solicitation letters for our efforts to try to get more payroll deductions and one-time gifts for professional development awards. And we are continuing to meet with members of the advancement committee to get a new line open that can receive the faculty club scholarship award. So no updates from there. It's moving slowly. I do feel a little bit like I'm stuck in the proverbial mud pit, but it's a lot of different moving parts and a lot of different people involved, and we want to get it right. So we will get there.
And I think for anyone who is joining our general meeting for the first time around, Susan has arranged for the faculty club to provide an annual scholarship of $1,250 to a staff member to then to take classes here at the U to further their education and or career. So thank you again, Susan and Sean, to your committee for making this happen. And obviously we'll be shouting from the rooftops when that is live and ready for people to apply.
Yeah, it'll get there.
Any questions for Susan? Okay. Events, Melissa, what's going on with the events committee?
Woohoo! Guys, we have a trunk or treat coming up on October 25th. We have full blessings and permissions from all university people that I needed to reach out to. So we are taking the outer loop of President's Circle. So if you know people who are already doing a trunk or treat minus the Union, because they do more of like a carnival type thing. But the Union did reach out and they want to partner with us next year of doing trunk or treat, and then from the trunk or treat funnel all the kids up to the carnival at the Union. They said our idea was great, fantastic. So they loved it. They just already had certain things booked this year and all their logistics. So if you have people, we've been told, people in like the park building, the business building, October 25th, we have it from 3 to 6:30. Ideally, the kiddos will come about 3:30 until 6 to trick or treat. This is not just for kids on campus. If you want to go home and bring your little darling children in their costumes, I am so excited. I love trick-or-treaters, so feel free to bring them. It will be more of a trick-or-treat than a trunk or treat, or if you want to call it table or treat, sure, because we'll be tabling so different groups can come. But yeah, we're just trying to find, if you guys know of certain groups already on campus that do a trick-or-treat in their building or something of the like, send them to the events committee our way. So that way we can have just one big event that's a collective U of U event versus each individual location doing something small for these kiddos. Sweet. I already love them coming in. Thank you, guys.
So just to clarify, is there a finite number of tables, and are you coordinating it, or how is that working?
As of yet, we've only been able to find 8 on campus, so that's why there's not a finite number, just because 8 tables is not going to take all of President Circle. So the more we can get, and if there are other like affinity groups, or if you guys know student groups that even would want to participate, obviously it's bring your own table, bring your own, if you guys want to put a tablecloth, bring your own tablecloth and candy. Yes, October 25th is what we're going for. Ideally we will have a staff council table there. So if we need volunteers, it would mostly be for that. Otherwise, we're kind of going to put it on the other groups to bring, like I said, their equipment for this event and kind of be responsible for their setup and cleanup. So mostly we are just looking for people to be joining us at the event.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. That is really,
there is no
really
age limit either. So if you are in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and you need to come and get a sweet treat on the way home, there is no restrictions on age. So feel free to come trick or treat as well.
Excellent.
Costumes encouraged.
Excellent. Excellent. I see some other comments and questions in the chat. So again, if you have any other questions, feel free to just ping Melissa directly. So, Ruby. Woohoo! So, Krista, I'm not sure. I hope you're on the call. I saw your name, so I'm assuming you're on the call. Just looking for a legislative update.
Yep, I am here.
Yay!
Nothing to update except please register to vote or verify that your registration is active. So you can register online up until October 25th. And then after that, you can still register in person on like day of voting. But yeah, make sure that everything's up to date so that you can get your mail-in ballot. Those will go out in a couple of weeks. So
Crazy. So exciting. Okay, cool. Selections. I think, Mel, you're on the call to present in Jessica's absence today.
Yes. Let me see if I can pull this up in a prettier format. She just wanted me to do one last review of our recommended updates to the awards. I don't know if you guys can see this okay. Is that okay? The way it's
Yep.
shared. So for our new member applications, we're just going to change the deadline from May to April and allow people that are 0.5 FTE instead of requiring them to be full-time. And they need to be at least 1 year employed at the university versus, I think prior there was comments about probationary period prior to the proposed service term. I think we just simplified it to just 1 year. And then just sort of enhance some of the questions on it, not big differences on it. And then, so should we vote on each section? I don't know if we need to vote and say, this sounds good to everybody.
I would first just ask if anybody, I would point out a couple things and then maybe open this up for discussion if anyone has any questions. But basically, we opened the application for new membership February 15th. And traditionally, we've had the application open for 3 months until May 15th. But what we find is if we just close it a month earlier, you still have 2 months to apply. And that way it gives us more time to process and communicate with folks before the new term starts. So any questions anyone has, questions or concerns or thoughts? This is just pertaining to new member selection.
Hey, Marie, I would just clarify that the date change is actually written in the bylaws. So the executive committee will be voting on the date change.
Thank you.
Everything else is up for discussion here.
Okay, thank you.
Should
I
we
think it looks-
Yeah, do we need to do a vote?
No, I guess not.
Okay. And then Tom Loveridge, currently we just changed the dates again from January and August to, let's see, to June, July instead of August. We would award it in August as opposed to awarding it. Well, let's see, is it different? I think maybe we changed it to November, December.
Wait, what?
So it's
what
later.
Did you change?
Yeah, we changed it from January and August to January and November, it looks like. So it would run into fall and spring semester. That's my understanding. Because we were giving it in January, which wouldn't work for spring semester. So we're giving it earlier than January, like November, December. Is the proposal there. No changes to FTEs or requirements, what classes are being taken, what classes it would be for, and then just again, just clarifying the questions like, are they currently enrolled in an accredited degree program? And then how it would, yeah, I think the questions are the same. How will it assist you in supporting the university? So really just dates on Tom Leverage, it looks like. It's the only difference we've made. Is that again an executive committee decision?
Yeah, I would just want to clarify what the specific deadlines are, because I'm just confused. I don't know if anyone else is confused, but saying January, August to January, June, July, if you could just say, here is the
Yeah.
current deadline and here's the new deadline, that would be helpful.
I'll see if I can find that somewhere, but I believe it's September. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, just
going with what the
before we
Okay.
we vote on it with executive, if you could get the
Okay.
actual dates
Yep.
of deadline dates,
Okay, sounds good.
that would be great.
Deadline dates, yes.
Yeah.
Any comments about Tom Leverage?
It looks to me like the deadlines are what, June 1 and November 1, right?
But are those the new ones or the proposed ones?
Those are the proposed ones.
And so what are the current ones?
It says January and August.
Right. That's my point, is
Right.
if it could be just
We'll
really
find out.
clear.
I'll find out what the deadlines are
Thank you.
and we'll put them in there. Yeah. Professional development. Again, we'll clarify the dates on these
Beautiful.
things because it looks like it's not super clear. The other changes was changing from 0.75 to 0.5 minimum. Same reason. And then there was discussion, it's not highlighted on here, but I think there was discussion to allow some travel expenses.
For reimbursement. Yeah.
Yeah, for reimbursement, but I think otherwise materials is the same. But they allowed like airfare, baggage fees. That kind of
Excellent.
thing. So I think that's the only differences. Any comments or questions? I'll verify dates and I'll put them in there.
Thanks, Mel.
Yeah. Oh, and then we are doing Tom Leverage right now. And we should have those awardees figured out by the end of next week.
Excellent. Excellent. Groovy.
Right.
Groovy. That's a lot. You guys are amazing to have, the
Yeah.
time you spent on reviewing all of those, the requirements, the timing, the questions. Really, really appreciate all your work, because that's not easy. So thank you. Thank you. Groovy. And then comms, I see here that we don't have any updates this week from comms. Just as an FYI, the newsletter was sent out yesterday. So there's that. And I took a look at the data. It looks like there are a ton of people clicking on the Frightmares discount ticket link, Melissa. So thank you to the events team for continuing to provide that. Be really fun to hear how that went, how that goes over. Cool. New staff connections, David.
Yeah, we're really close. We've got two web pages that are pretty much ready to go live. One outlining perks for staff, one that are outlining community groups where staff can find extra connection and community here at the university within the larger group. So those will be going live very soon. We've already finalized our email number 1 for our drip campaign to new employees. That's the one that'll go out in month 1 of employment. And then we will send a follow-up at month 3 and 1 year. Those rough drafts are done. We're going to try to finalize and have all 3 of those really polished, just because of the way that we have to handle the email communications through MyEmma. So we're really close to pushing out emails here. We're going to try to get that done in the next month.
Awesome. And I noticed they weren't on the list, but I just wanted to ask our Access Belonging and Community Outreach Committee, Ray, any updates from your committee?
I can't think of anything at the moment, so.
Fair. Okay, cool, cool. All right, well, our time, we are so efficient. Thank you all. Before we jump into liaison updates, I noticed it's nearly 2:30, and I was wondering if our first presenters from Marriott Library are here and want to kick it off. Thomas Farrell and Erica Church. That's a blast
Hello.
from my personal past.
There we go. Yeah, hi.
So nice to see you.
It's so nice to see you too.
Don't mind the 94 other people. It's lovely to see your face.
I think TJ's here with us as well. TJ,
I am.
where are you in? Awesome.
Yep. Hello.
Should I go
Hi.
ahead and share my screen?
Yeah.
If I can, let's see.
Yeah, let's give it a shot. I could try. Teams is sure to ask for permission that I cannot grant it if I try to share my screen. So
Let's see. All
But thank you for
right.
having us. This is really exciting. I am so glad to be able to present to the group. Thank you to David, who helped us start this conversation. Yeah, it's good to be here. So I am TJ Farrell. Well, my name is Thomas James Farrell, but I go by TJ. And I actually was on staff council in 2009 to 2013. I served alongside Tom Loveridge. When he passed, I stayed on an extra year because the committee went through some challenges in those days. But I especially appreciate the staff council, and we met a few months back with David, and we're talking about resources that the library provides in a lab that we have titled Protospace. So it's kind of a meaningless place name, but it is a collection of resources that the library creates access to, and we just thought it would be a good opportunity to share with this group kind of what is available in Protospace. So we'll go on to next slides, but by way of introduction, I am officially the assistant head of creative spaces here at the library. Also a meaningless title. There is no head of creative spaces, so that's kind of fun. We love bureaucracy, but effectively, my role is to explore and develop new technology services for the campus community. Yeah, I do want to just shut up for one moment and let Erica introduce themselves.
Thank you. So I've worked at the library for a long time, which I won't bring up the exact dates because Marie and I there's no reason for us to feel not young, is what I'll say. But I've been working in the Protospace for quite a while and working with TJ, and managed to parlay going to art school a couple times into working in a library and doing creative stuff. And again, I also work under Creativity and Innovation Services, and I am the kind of head of operations for Protospace. So here's all of our awesome humans. And TJ, you can tell me, our slides are advancing, everybody's seeing it?
Yep, looks great.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
So we do have an entire team with us. So several librarians, several full-time staff, more than a handful of student employees. The poster here that was created did not include Mark, so we now have 100% more Mark. Mark Howell just joined our team, so we're really glad for that. Yeah, let's dive into kind of what Protospace is. So if we could see the next slide here, it's primarily about access. Like as it says here, there's no door to Protospace. We're on level 2 of the library. In 2019, this location was primarily book stacks. And for reasons unrelated to our operation, they decided to collapse the shelving into some higher density shelving and free up floor space. And then they kind of just handed us this 25,000 foot open space with no budget to modify or renovate, but we kind of started squatting here and slowly have filled it up. But we do love that there's no door to it, so it allows us to experiment with a way of providing services that doesn't exist anywhere else. The 3D printing operation that we have requires there's no barriers to entry, so anyone can come in at any time and interact with the resources that are in Protospace. And then this does create the obvious like flip side, which is like, well, what if I don't know how to interact with these resources? And that's where our in-person support comes in. So we have really talented student employees. We've spent no small amount of effort trying to create kind of self-guided learning content and learning tutorial content about how to interact with the resources. But we found early on that the users that come to the library oftentimes know more than we do about these resources. And so we're in a learning mode almost constantly. You know, people from all over campus say, hey, could I use this resource for that? And yeah, we just try to always say yes. And so yeah, so the purpose today is just to give you like a really brief kind of whirlwind tour / overview of what those resources are. And of course, I would love to hear, you know, any questions you have, any ideas you may have. What are we not doing that we could be doing? Things like that. So yeah, let's hop right into the very next slide. So the first two items on the list, GIS services, are provided by my colleague Justin Sorensen, who specializes in GIS, geospatial information systems technology. So the creation of the combination of maps and data, which is really fascinating work. So should you have any cause to investigate GIS, I invite you to come on in. And then we have this visualization wall, which you can see in the graphic there. It is a 25-foot high resolution screen. So it's 18 individual 1080p monitors. So a total resolution of 11,520 pixels by 3,240 pixels. So it's much bigger than you can reasonably render data on. And so that creates challenges for us that we love to try to face. But if you're working with high resolution data, which many departments are, this is a great way to render and share that data in a public format. All right, let's see. Up next we have, I think I was gonna hand this one over to you, Erica.
I would be happy to talk about it. It's our newest collection in its own way, although TJ had so much to do with bringing it in. We have a board game collection, so board game and tabletop gaming. And right now it's in this kind of delightfully transitional state. So it doesn't circulate, but we have lots of faculty using it for teaching. And then we have lots of people coming into our space using our big, wonderful tables and playing games. Our plan for this coming year, we're working with library facilities to bring in formalized shelving that is intended for the board game specifically. And we've worked very closely to make sure they're discoverable in the catalog. And we are planning to roll out a short circulation for all of them so people can play them in-house or take them home. So that is a big fun project I get to work on and that we're excited to have. The goal is to have a collection of a little over 300 games, and curation is coming from all over the place, really highlighting different game makers and other folks. We then also have video games, which I think we're going to talk about in another slide, and you'll see those in the background, but the Lego table. These Legos have lived several places on campus. There's probably at least one or two of you who remember the bins living in some room somewhere. They made their way to the library and they're very popular. So we really don't do programming around the Lego table, but everyone takes a break there, meets up there, does a little bit of ideating. It's a very popular space.
We have some questions, Erica, coming in from
Yeah,
chat. People are
absolutely.
quite engaged. There were questions about puzzles. Word on the street, there are puzzles as well. And can people donate games?
Ooh, There are puzzles. The puzzles are really hard to curate. So it is a very casual collection and it's staying that way. So the board games are becoming very formal. The puzzles are just on a shelf. People can put them together. They can make them. We can guarantee most of them have most of their pieces. Board game donations. I think we'd be open to that. I would have to talk to our folks who handle collections because it would probably be similar. There's definitely historically the puzzles just sort of show up. But with the board games, if they wanted to reach out to TJ or myself, we could coordinate what donations look like for the collection. So that's a great question. Thank you. Let's see. Now we finally get to the map. As TJ mentioned, our space, located by our beautiful temporary Starbucks. I don't know if everybody knows the library will be getting the first full Starbucks slated to open in 2025 on the first floor. But in the meantime, there is a very tiny, very busy Starbucks located just around the corner from where we are on the second floor. But we have a service point. So this is Isaiah, one of our student employees. This is a great place to check in. TJ provided the link for hours that'll show us, when someone's available here. And this is kind of the landing point for our space. Then on the map, you can also see our offices are these fun little pods over here in the back. And you'll see a few other things we're going to talk about on the map as well. Including, we've got these lovely framery pods. So they are not officially totally soundproof, but they are nice, quiet study spaces. They have power, they have seating, they have lighting. They're reservable and accessible. So the seats inside flip up, the table as well flips up, and then they have accessible powered doors as well. The other booths are officially very well audio structured. They've got special omnidirectional and unidirectional microphones. They are made for podcasting. We've got computers in there. You can also reserve the room and bring your own computer to do recording. It's sort of like DIY podcasting, but very cool spaces. And again, all of these are available anytime the building's open. And the materials collection, this is my favorite. This is a materials petting zoo. So it was purchased to enhance kind of the interactivity of architecture, planning, multidisciplinary design. It's been used by environmental sustainability studies, and it is a sample of about 650 materials physically. And it's paired with a database that has over, I think at this point we're at 75,000 materials. So students can access the database, or anyone on campus can access the database, and it'll give you information about manufacturing, supply. There's a focus on sustainability, so it'll give you life cycle analysis information, and then also ASTM standard information if you're looking for that. And this is my favorite. Oh, I think I've said everything's my favorite, but this is my favorite too. This is probably our newest build out. So we purchased a sewing machine and we have now we have 4 sewing machines. We have 4 diverse dress forms, 2 sergers, and the sergers are pre-threaded. So I don't expect anybody to know how to thread them. We have one threaded in black and one threaded in white thread. We have a pressing area. So we have a full large table with an iron. We're working on adding a full press top. Right now we just have this temporary pressing piece. And there's a second table of the same size for cutting patterns. We also have an embroidery machine, which is another new addition, and all of that's available to use. The resources here, with the exception of the sergers, we'd expect folks to be bringing in their own fabric, their own thread, but we do provide bobbins, scissors, pins, everything that they need to work in the area. And a little more analog, we couldn't figure out what to call these other resources, but we have button makers in 2 sizes. So we have a 1-inch and a 2.5-inch button maker along with punches. So you can come in with your printouts, punch all your buttons, assemble them. And then we also have a vinyl cutter. It is big, but not meant to be scary. So you can cut things very small and very big. And it works, I say, pretty darn well. And we have some student employees who are wizards, seriously wizards. And I'm going to hand it over to TJ to talk about our biggest of big things that we both helped build. But I think TJ was officially the person who wrote the grant that got us our first 3D printer. I don't want to say how many years ago again, because that adds age to all of us. But I'll hand this over to TJ.
It's been a couple of years, at least. So yeah, 3D printing kind of rose to prominence. I don't know. We'll say over the last decade, and over the years we have tried to meet rising demand from students, from faculty, from we have a large number of staff users as well, but just meet that demand with just more printer. So currently we have two parallel printing systems. On the one hand, we have printers that are in the open lab that are available to anyone at any point to come in and interact with. So in this case, the patron brings the material so that they print with PLA plastic. It's a 1.75 millimeter diameter filament. They bring the filament, they load it, they load their 3D model, they push go. We provide the environment, the encouragement. We answer questions as they arise, and otherwise we're uninvolved. And the other format is our 3D print farm, which is an automated kind of, you don't come to the building until your part is done and you're ready to pick it up. And that's something that we built in-house. We benefit from the wizards that Erica mentioned. They help us envision, dream up big ideas, and then bring them into fruition. So in this system, you submit, you prepare your print file, which is its own process, and we can help you with that. But it mostly involves open source software and kind of simple translations. From that, you create a printable file. You upload that printable file to a web form. And then we have a Python script that just reads that web form and starts the file on the next available 3D printer. It starts it with no human in the loop. So print comes in, printer starts, and messaging is automated. So you get a notification when your print starts. You get a notification when your print has finished. And yeah, it's pretty darn close to magic. And yeah, there's a couple other, we have a large format printer. So we have one machine that can print a 4 foot by 4 foot by 2 foot volume. So quite large. Prints at that scale can take weeks or even months. So it is something we tend to try to work with people to get prints on that device. But yeah, the 3D printers stay busy. Our automated farm to date we've done, I want to say we're at like 16,300 is about what we're at, 16,300 print jobs since we launched the 3D print farm. So those are automated print jobs. Yeah, that's since we launched it during the pandemic. So since 2022.
And just a quick question about that. David put a note in the chat that you just pay for the material used if you're using the print farm. How does that pricing run? I'm just curious.
So
or can you direct
5
us?
cents a gram. So yeah, if you were to buy a kilogram of material, so these spools, so it shows, they're all, the material comes on these spools. A full spool of that is about $20 to $25. We charge 5 cents a gram, which comes out to about $50. So it's about twice the material cost. But a lot of times, you don't need to spend $20 if you want, a really small part. And so the average, we have statistics on all this stuff, and the average print cost is something like $2 or $3. Just looking at, the print jobs from today, they're mostly in the they're 70 cents, $1.19, 84 cents, 3 cents. Yeah, it's very affordable. And that's, again, we're thinking through, how do we create access to these resources? Because having to buy a $20 spool and then come and touch a printer, that's a big barrier. Whereas, you know, the person that printed a 3-cent part, like their actual cost is 3 cents. And for us, it's way more expensive to generate an invoice than it is to collect on that 3 cents. But, you know, here we are. I do see a question. Yes, University of Utah health employees do have access to all these resources as well. I will say the Eccles Health Science Library has a 3D print farm that's a clone. So what we did is we built this service, and we built it with open source tooling, and we just share that with everyone. Because there's commercial products you can go out and buy, and they're always trying to get us to buy their products, and so we build free products that we release in response. So the Health Science Library has a print farm, so your nearest printing option might be closer, but they won't have the same set of resources. So if you're interested in the sewing machines and things like that, we're still going to be your best bet. Let's see, were there any other questions?
Oh,
okay, yeah, let's go to the next slide.
all right.
Okay, 3D scanning. So 3D printers go from like a digital object to a physical object, and 3D scanners go the opposite direction. So I just took this picture yesterday, and it looks like I took a blurry picture, so you're welcome. There are 2 3D scanners in this picture. They're both Artec devices, so they're really high end, many thousands of dollars, and the same philosophy applies. These are available for walk-up use. There's no check-in, there's no required training. If you would like assistance, we will provide it, but we try to make it our business to stay out of yours. And that's just like the library philosophy and us coming out. But these scanners they use a structured light scanning process, so it kind of strobes a light that has lines in it, and then based on the distance of those lines in a camera, they can tell how far that light went, and then from that create a point cloud, and from the point cloud create a mesh, and with a mesh you can 3D print. So it's quite a bit more complicated, but again, we're just creating access to the resource there. I hear a wind.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Yeah, so I will say, I mean, just in terms of 3D scanning, if that's an area of interest, it doesn't necessarily require like a crazy expensive 3D scanner anymore. There's an app on most Android, and it's on the Android and iOS stores called Scaniverse, and I would recommend folks check out Scaniverse if you're interested in 3D scanning. So, but yeah, we can move on.
I was going to say they can also check out iPads from the library that they could put Scaniverse on, because it is a free app.
So virtual reality resources are another door we're trying to open, I suppose. So in our VR arena, we have Valve Index head-mounted displays, which they're VR headsets. They are paired to kind of high-end PCs. We'll call them gaming PCs, and yeah, they're here to check out. We do circulate several devices as well, so you can check out a headset. You can try it in place. The purple column with the rightmost picture here is a little shelf with, these are Meta Quest 3 headsets, and they do not tether to a computer. They're standalone devices. They have a little Android computer in them, and they allow like augmented reality and mixed reality applications. They have full color pass through, and they have hand tracking. So virtual reality comes from this place of like, you use a controller to do like gamer things, and not everybody's into controllers and understands that. But the latest generation of headsets removes the requirement to hold a controller in your hand. It sees your hands, and your hands are the thing that interacts with the world around you. And so it's much more intuitive. And we've seen this, when we have tour groups come in, and you'll notice people are way more engaged when they're not trying to fiddle with buttons. They just kind of, you touch the item on the interface that you want to interact with, and it's much more intuitive. I will admit that this is still very experimental. Like we have classes that come in and, you know, visualize architectural resources and do digital sculpting, and we've built dental and surgical simulators and things like that. But doing those things is so time and resource intensive that we're not in the business of cranking out content for anyone on campus. It's more, you know, for exploration and you know, utilities that we don't necessarily anticipate. So it's fun to work with, though.
So cool.
Let's see. And then we're done with time to spare. You've got the website that we are currently reworking to hopefully make it even better to navigate. Our mailing list, which goes to me, TJ, our whole team, and our students, and then both of our contact emails at the top there.
Would it be possible to get a copy of this presentation so we can share it in our newsletter next month?
I'm okay with that, DJ. Yeah.
Yeah, we can. I mean, I believe I can throw that in
the chat. That would be fantastic.
Let's see. Yeah, here it is. Okay, let me just drop that in chat real quick. Yeah, thank you all so much for having us. It's fun to build these resources. It's fun to see the community use these resources. I think this requires like a university G Cloud login. So I don't know if that's prohibitive. It basically will be viewable to people who are on campus, I think. But
if you make a shareable link, it should be able to be shared to anyone with the link.
Okay, let me see if this is the same link.
Or you can set the permissions.
Yeah, I updated the permissions to it, so I think it's the same link. Yeah.
Excellent. Any questions from anyone? As this is amazing. I'm so excited. You make me want to go embroider something and, I don't know, render something in plastic or start scanning things. I'm all kinds of wound up.
That's exciting. We would love to see lots of traffic coming through here, and we're happy to help bring more folks in and have you use it for sure.
We have some questions. Arena,
it may have already been answered in the chat, but on the button making, we had joked, but not joked. It's Staff Appreciation Day or Employee Appreciation Day, that we would love to make buttons with the QR code for folks to register that we can just wear around campus. Are the supplies available for us to make the buttons, or do we have to purchase those and come with them?
We provide the tools, but we don't provide the supplies. We do have some, best practices recommendations, but we would expect you to make the purchase of the materials.
How do we find out what size items we need so we can come prepared properly?
We have, right now it is a nice piece of paper on the table, but we are adding that to our website for the different sizes. It is just for notes, a 1-inch button maker and a 2.5-inch button maker.
That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
But the website will have it soon.
Amazing.
Thank you.
And Ray, you had a question. Ray, I think you are on mute. Did you have a question?
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I didn't unclick mute. I'm trying to remember what my question is. Sorry. I lost it and it'll come back to me.
No worries. We'll ask. I see other questions in the chat. Stephanie wanted to know, what are you hoping to add next?
Ooh, TJ, what do we want now? I mean, we want a laser cutter, but that means we also need some infrastructure. So if anybody knows someone who really wants to see ventilation and running water added to our space, and they have the money to do that, probably more of everything. I don't know. TJ, is there something that's hot on your mind?
So, I mean, the soldering station is certainly, like, we have all the equipment for soldering stations. Because we are a wide open facility, we have a challenge in providing access to like basic hand tools. Things that can injure people have to be kind of locked in a space, and we actually don't have a locking space. So a soldering station would be high on the list. We already have those resources. We just can't really deploy them. Video cassette to digital station exists here in the library that I believe can be checked out from the Knowledge Commons, also on level 2. For me, it's robotics, so quadruped robotics, higher end LiDAR scanning, a cobot, so like a robotic arm that can be trained with a human user. And I do have I just had a pre-proposals accepted to write a grant for a robotics program. So depending on my grant writing acumen, we may be able to move on those. And I have a decades long interest in artificial intelligence, which is all too hyped right now. But I would like to keep our organization at the forefront of computational innovations and be able to at least prototype things using artificial intelligence. So that's like too much to take on, but you know, I don't mind being ambitious.
So wacky question. Does the Protospace ever take reservations for like events? Like, for example, if staff council wanted to have an evening in the Proto Station or book an hour, you said you had classes come through. Just throw it out.
Yeah, it's certainly something we could put together.
Okay.
So I will confess that we don't tend to steer into outreach opportunities just because it's a never, like, you know, there's no end to the amount of outreach that we could do. Bringing in like teaching classes on specific skills is something that we do and we are interested in doing. So absolutely. Yeah, we would just want to schedule it out and hope for a big crowd.
When there are reservable spaces, we have the library itself has a facilities team that handles making large reservations or event reservations.
Okay.
But also the VR stations can be reserved individually or as a group. I believe the headsets, standalone headsets can be reserved. And then we have reservations available on the sewing machines and some of the other analog tools.
Amazing. Amazing. Any other questions for like TJ and Erica? This is so freaking cool. Like, I want to hang up now and get in my, you know, bike and come to campus right now and come hang out with you.
Yeah, come on down.
Any other questions from anyone?
I want to elaborate on the teaching question or like teaching classes. So all of your student staff who are in the Protospace should theoretically know like how to use everything in the Protospace.
On a basic level, yes.
Okay.
They come to us in different places with different skills. My goal is for them to be comfortable with everything we provide. They all have their own sort of interests, and we are really lucky to have some wonderfully engaged student employees. Based on just their backgrounds and their interests, some of them are much more comfortable, skilled, engaged with some of the tools, but all of them can answer basic questions, get you started. And then ultimately, you know, the other goal is that they're all able to pass you on to the right person from there, whether it is a different student employer or one of the full-time folks.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Amazing. Well, I think our time is up, but any final questions, thoughts, comments? We now know where you are and how to hunt you down, which is really exciting. We know how to find you. Again, thank you so much to you both. And Erica, so lovely to see your face. Lovely
So good to see you too,
TJ. Yeah. So have a wonderful afternoon, and we look forward to sharing more about what you do.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Wonderful. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh man. Bye. Okay, so we are right on track. This is so lovely. Next up, we have Susan, our own Susan Grant, who's going to talk to us about LinkedIn, what it is, how to use it, and all the things.
All the things.
All
It's
the things.
impossible for me to follow that act. This is gonna be so dull and boring in comparison to what we just went through. Marie, can you tell me, can you see my
Yes.
presentation here? Is
Yep.
that all good? Okay,
Yep.
great. Well,
And let's
hi.
be clear, marketing is important. You can
Yeah,
go make stuff and then you
it's
have to know how to market yourself.
that's true. Okay, good. So we'll go with that. Hi everybody. So in my actual day job, um, sometimes staff council can feel like it's your day job, but my actual day job, I'm one of the career coaches here at our department called U Career Success. A little background, just a little over a year ago, we used to have a separate career services department at the David Eccles School of Business, and then a more general career services department that served for things everybody else on the campus, all the way from freshmen up to doctoral candidates and everybody in between. And so a little over a year ago, President Randall gave the thumbs up for us to join together our forces. And so now we are U Career Success. So if you haven't heard about that, that's what it is for every student here on campus. Unfortunately, we don't currently have any kind of resources along this line for staff or employees in general. So I hope this is a little bit informative for you. Everybody basically, no matter what they do, has the need of a resume. And at the very least, they should be considering building out their LinkedIn. And hopefully I'll touch on a few reasons why. I can remember how to, there we go. So most of us, and I fall into this category too. I am, Marie, close your ears. I am not the biggest person on social media. So for somebody that does a lot of outreach and sales and marketing work throughout her life, it's just one of those things where I did the minimum required. So I'm not shocked or amazed if you fall into that category too. Some of us just at some point, somebody forced us to open up an account that we never looked at it, or we haven't looked at it for 10 years or whatever. So I want to make sure that everybody takes a moment, if they have an app on their cell phone, just glance at it and see how it's looking today, if it's really outdated or just completely incomplete. And here's the reason why. It is social media, right? It's a professional kind of social media. And so the irony here is that people are looking at you, looking for you basically 24/7. I mean, it's social media, right? It's on the internet. And here's another key point. Not that anybody's trying to leave their job. I know we're all happier than clams doing what we're doing today. But 93% of all recruiters across all industries use LinkedIn to find and vet their candidates. And I'll get into that vetting a little bit later. A bigger presence and a more accurate and complete presence on your LinkedIn is going to lead just to more opportunities. And also, if you do apply to a job, it's going to lead to improved application success. Not in my industry, but in some people's industries, LinkedIn has started to replace a resume. So I always tell my students that if I find you first, it's likely that a recruiter is going to find you first on LinkedIn. And I want them to feel as if they're going through an electronic version or an online version of your resume. So it basically is, part and parcel, the same thing. And it also gives you a cool opportunity to make new connections within your industry or without. to just, learn about what's going on in the industries that are of interest to you, and for you to have a free venue to share your expertise and your interests. So we're going to go into a little bit of detail here, but the basic elements of a LinkedIn profile should be a professional headshot. And what do I mean by that? I don't want, I know you love your spouse, you love your dog, you love your cat. It's great. That's for your Instagram account. that is not for your professional headshot. So I really do want more or less of a neutral or a blank even background. I mean, a little more personality than your passport photo, but basically it's virtually a passport photo kind of a situation. And FYI here, we still are offering free professional headshots over at the Marriott Library on Wednesdays. So, if you don't have a friend or a good camera, just waltz down there, and anybody that works at the university is welcome to get their headshot there. And a relevant banner, we'll go into that in a second. A good headline, the about section, which is like sort of a short bio or an elevator pitch. And then talking about the wide variety of your experiences. So yes, it includes work, but it also includes volunteering and other things that you might be doing in your life. So essentially, we're going to be looking at 7 or more sections. 7 sections is the minimum of what a recruiter would consider a completed LinkedIn profile. And one of those 7 sections must include the about section for it to be completed. So on the headline, this is those few pieces, the number of words that are immediately below your name on the LinkedIn profile page. It's the first thing people see. It's very, very brief. So really what we're looking at is, who you are, what you do. Sometimes people, if you look at my LinkedIn, for example, it's just a little, because I'm not actively looking for work. And so it's just a really, sort of key thing about what I do. What's the thing I like the most about my job, or where I think I'm making a difference through my job. So, I don't use ChatGPT a lot, but of course it's there, right? The AI of it all. So you can always just populate some things if you're really trapped and stuck, and see what it comes up with, right? It's 120 characters all in. So there's not, we're not looking for a paragraph here, just some highlight things. With my students, when I know that they're actively seeking employment, we put in when they're available, we put in what they're actively seeking, so that this is a searchable field by a recruiter. And so if there is ever a time where you are completely unemployed and you don't care who knows that you're looking for work, go ahead and use that, because that is the first thing that a recruiter is going to look at. The about section, this is that one section that is absolutely required by any recruiter. Why? Because it's also a searchable field for them. So they're looking at these. I like to think about it. I like to break it up into 2 short-ish kind of paragraphs. The first paragraph is about maybe your academic background, certainly your work background and experiences highlighted, right? So we're not going into gory details here. Think elevator pitch. Think, I'm just meeting you. This is what the highlights I would tell you. And so it could be the kind of work that you've been doing, why you love your work, or why you think your work is impactful. You could also highlight a series of skills. I would keep it to that kind of rule of 3. Don't make it a big long laundry list, just the 3 most impactful things that you think you bring to any setting. And then I'd like a second paragraph, again, so, brief as well, 3 to 5 sentences about what does Susan Grant look like when she's not at work, or, if you're a student, not at work or school. I tell my students all the time, So in your case, like, what do you do outside? What makes you tick? What makes you interesting? So if we were stuck in the break room together, sitting next to each other, you know, what would you tell me you had done over the weekend? What are you really excited about? Here you could talk about volunteer work if that's a big part of your life, but could also be just, you know, things that you're passionate about. Could be skiing, could be hiking, camping, sewing, knitting, could be anything. The whole point here is that it's something not related to work. That's ideal, right? Because it's building a broader, better picture of who you are as a human being. So every single time you enter your education or you enter an experience, you're almost always going to see this skills tab, and it's on the bottom, and a lot of people miss it. I want to make sure that you're not missing it. I get asked all the time, like, well, how many skills is too many skills? And like, okay, let me explain. Go crazy here. This is the one time I'm not going to limit you to 3 or 5 or keep it short. And the reason is because this is largely how recruiters use LinkedIn. So the employer will say, I'm looking for somebody with great communication skills. I'm looking for somebody who understands Microsoft Excel. I'm looking for somebody that knows how to program using Python. I'm looking for somebody that is a great team player or great problem solver or great customer service. They're going to type in on their version of LinkedIn, they're going to type in those skills. If you do that all day long, but you never bothered to type in that skill somewhere where it was appropriate, it's not going to show up. You're not going to show up. They can't find you. So I'm going to encourage you to maybe start with 5, right? Just so you don't feel totally overwhelmed. And don't worry, if you put customer service, for example, down 10 times, because every job you've ever had, you've used customer service skills. It's not going to list customer service 10 times. It's going to list it once, and then it's going to reinforce it with all the different times in your life you've used that skill. So you're not, you're not going crazy. It's not going to look like a hot mess. It's just going to look like, oh, that's something that Susan's really, really good at, because look at how much experience and usage of that skill she has. I mean, you can go up to 50. I mean, the winners have all 50, right? And, I think when you really dig deep about what you do every day at your work and in your volunteer roles and at school and whatever you use, it's shocking how quickly you get to a really, really big number, because you guys are amazing, right? You got all the things. Okay, so when you go in, it's going to be like, if this is your name and this is your headline, you're going to find this tab right here. It says Add Profile section. This is basically the building blocks of the LinkedIn profile. And it divides into 3 sections. So you'll see core, recommended, and additional. These are there's many more than the ones I've highlighted here, but these are the ones I really want you to focus on. In the core section, I want you to put in your education. I want you to put in your positions. That's your jobs, basically, that you've done, typically jobs that you've been paid to do. And if it's relevant, add a career break. I have had this happen to myself, where people will go into your resume and they'll count on their fingers and toes, the months that are missing, the gaps. So, they're trying to figure out where you were during that time, what you were doing. This alleviates some of that. If there was a big gap in time, you can explain to people, well, I was at home raising young children. I was taking care of elderly parents. I was, recovering from an illness. I was traveling the world, backpacking through Southeast Asia, whatever it was that you're doing. In the recommended section, if you have licenses, and we're not talking about driver's licenses, right? But if you have some kind of certification you've been through or a license, this is a great section to include those in. If there is a relevant project, meaning don't just pick some random project from work that you did, but if there was some really big project that you worked on once, that highlights your skills and your abilities to make the world a better place, make your company a better place. This is a great place to highlight that. With my students, I ask them to do, a lot of times they do competitions. So this is a great place to put in case competitions and things like that. And then recommendations. So we all have people that love us at our work, or in our volunteer lives, people that we sit next to that absolutely adore us and cherish us as colleagues. Ask them for a recommendation, and then just be prepared that if you ask somebody to recommend you, you should be willing to offer that that help to them in return. And it's a paragraph, right? It's not going to kill you to do that, to be kind to somebody else, and it's a lovely way to share, your appreciation for other people. And then in the additional, I want you to focus on, if you do volunteer, that you're telling us what you do. Basically, employers are really, really interested in knowing that you share your time and talent with others and for the benefit of the community. Honors and awards, that could be anything from getting the Tom Leverage Award to, because that's an award, you've been awarded that scholarship money. It could be something that somebody give you, best career coach of the year award, internal, departmental kind of things. And it could be something, if you're lucky enough to be identified in your community, it could be something there too. Obviously, if you speak languages other than English, this is a great advantage. I hate you. I'm so jealous, but go for it. And don't worry. The app allows you to self-identify how well you speak that language. So if your Spanish skills, your French skills, your German skills are all from college days, and you can basically say, good evening, how are you? There's the bathroom. If it's pretty basic, there is an elementary level that you can pick. Please, if I can give one piece of advice here, do not overpromise. I have known people who forgot, or thought it would sound a little bit better. And then they go in and they've got somebody who's fluent in that language, who's there to interview them in that language. So don't be that guy. Definitely be very honest with what your language skill level is. And then organizations, kind of an interesting area. So certainly if you sit on a board, or if you are on staff council, or that could be viewed, you could put staff council in the volunteer section if you wanted to, if you were a member of staff council, but you could also put it in organizations. I have a lot of volunteer jobs in my life, so organizations, I felt like my staff council involvement popped a little bit better there. So there's some leeway. I mean, David, Marie, Lisa, John, people that have been past presidents of that thing is a job. So if you, if you wanted to put that into work experience, you're not getting paid to do it, but it is a big enough responsibility where there would be no mistake doing that. So really, I look at every individual as their own situation, and I place things where I think they're going to be spotted the best and where they're going to be highlighted the most. But I like, showing that I'm involved in the community through my volunteer work, but that I've also served on boards. And that's where I put my organizations. Okay, so in terms of leveraging, we've got a search function, following versus connecting, who to connect with and how to connect. So this is if you're looking for work exclusively, right? There's an open to button. And if I go back here, do you see it? It's the blue button right next to that profile section. I wouldn't use this unless I was really trolling around to see what else might be out there, right? But you're going to want to be doing a little research online, figuring out, well, the kind of job I want to do, it's typically called a finance analyst. So that's a common term. I'm going to put that down. So populate it with job titles that you think fit the mark of what you're looking for. And then you can tell people how you want to work, where you want to work, when you're available to work, and the type of work that you're looking to do. I definitely want to caution you on this. There is a section where you get to showcase whether you want it to be visible or not. If you don't want your boss knowing that you're actively looking for work, please just hit the recruiters only buttons. Because the other option, which is great if you've been laid off or you're, re-entering the workforce from a break or whatever, but it's like the equivalent of, you know, fireworks going off all around your name. Like all of your colleagues are going to come running into your office. Oh my gosh, Susan, why are you leaving your job? Is everything okay? So be aware that everyone can see the one option and only recruiters with the right kind of accounts can see the other. You can search. I won't spend a lot of time here, but you can search for companies, for jobs. You can find people just by using this search button here. I can put in, Fidelity Investments. I'm going to search for jobs that they have. I'm going to try to network with people there so I can look for employees that work there. I can even search for, people who work at Fidelity Investments who were graduates of the David Eccles School of Business who work in HR. You can really filter it down to find the people that you're looking for or the opportunities you're looking for. Following versus connecting. Following allows us to, you and I can now, instead of texting each other, we can message back and forth. And what's nice is I don't have to give you my personal cell phone number, but you can still message me and I can message you. Connecting, I bet connecting does that. Following is just, you're kind of seeing what people are posting, what they're doing. I'm not going to go over this. It's like basically we're trying to get to 500 or more people. LinkedIn will not promote if you've got 10,000 people. It will never say 10,000. It will say 500 plus. That's the max number. And it's really remarkably easy to get to that number. And that would be, showing that you are an active person on LinkedIn. Following companies, I think I just talked to this a little bit. You can follow a company or an industry that you're really interested in. For example, I belong to the National Employers and it's education and employers organization, and that. So if I follow them, they're going to share with me articles and research that's been done. I can keep abreast of what's happening in my industry. You could find out just if you might just be really interested in outdoor industry items, so you can see what's going on there. It's a great way to keep yourself targeted in the news that you're getting. And this can be fun. Like if you're ever going to a convention or a conference or some kind of a networking opportunity is presenting, it's very easy to create your own customized QR code. And so instead of it's very old school, I actually do still have business cards that they make for me to hand out, but this is sort of the modern day business card right here. And then you can easily and very quick, instead of typing in Susan Grant, oh, is this you? Because there's 10,000 of us on LinkedIn. Now you're going to go directly to me. So you're not going to accidentally reach out and connect with the wrong Susan Grant. I'm not going to walk you guys through, how to say, hi, it was so great to meet you at the convention yesterday. I'd love to follow up and chat again. Do you have time on Friday? This is just, we want to see activity, but I don't want to stress you out. You do not have to be on this thing every minute of every day. I am, because I have to be. If I was a normal person, I would not be, but every once in a while, reposting or creating your own post, showing an accomplishment or something that you guys all did at work as a team together. It's so easy. You take a photo, you upload the photo and say, you'll probably see me post tonight. I'm going to go to the Doers Hired All Business Career Fair, and I'll be like, oh, great to be at the career fair tonight. It's so easy. It's even I can do it. I mean, that's it's a pretty low bar. So, but just keeping that activity going is really helpful.
And Susan,
yeah.
I just want to call out two things. One,
Okay.
we just have a few more minutes
I'm
before
almost
our
done.
next. Oh, great. And
I'm
number
at the
two,
recap.
excellent. And then great minds. And then if you wouldn't mind sharing a copy of your slides, these are phenomenal. If you can drop them in the chat,
Sure.
I think that would be great.
Okay. So finally, it has to be a completed LinkedIn profile. The 30 minutes it's going to take you to do this, it just do it once and then you're just tweaking the rest of your life, so it makes it easier. And I always say do your resume first, because then you're copying and pasting from the resume to build the LinkedIn. So if you start with your resume, which most of us should, do once a year, then you're just going to build this LinkedIn profile off of that. Connect, get to that 500 plus number. And occasionally post and do things there, but stay engaged because it shows that you're active on this site. This is me. That's my LinkedIn. So if you would like to add me to, this is how you get it done, right? Add me to your LinkedIn connections. And I had to throw in my middle initial there. I do recommend when you make a LinkedIn profile for the first time, it'll give you all kinds of gobbledygook letters and numbers at the end. On the top right side of your profile, it'll say, create a custom URL. And I recommend that you do that. I'd like it to so that your name is easily recognizable, which I think mine is here as a good example. And that way you just get rid of all the junk that LinkedIn is just going to throw on there. And it looks cool on the top of your resume too.
I love this, Susan. This is so brilliant. Like you have inspired, I think, all of us to go jump into LinkedIn tonight, get going and become friends.
The nice thing about it is, Marie, you can do, if you have 5 minutes, if you're watching something, watching the news or whatever, if you don't want to do it all at one sitting, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Go in and update. And the reason I put my name here is not just so I can be one of your 500 connections. I'm absolutely do this with every student that I work with. So I will do it with all of you too. Use my profile on LinkedIn as an example, right? So let's see what Susan did. How did Susan address this? How did she write this up? So absolutely feel free to refer to mine, and hopefully that inspires you to build your own too.
Excellent. There are already people on chat updating their profiles as we speak and looking for appointments for other people to help.
There we go.
You've started a fire of networking here today. Thank you.
Okay.
Susan, thank you so much. Yeah. And yes, and if you, again, don't mind just dropping these slides in the chat, and we'll want to call them again out in the newsletter in our recap, because this is amazing. So thank you. Can't wait to hear follow-up reports from people on what they've learned after today. Groovy. So next on schedule is we are gonna be hearing from Todd Justison and Kim Barnett on the university safety update from their Clery report. So
yes,
I hear your voice,
here
Kim.
we are. Thanks, Marie. Hi, everyone. It's Kim with the Department of Public Safety, and Todd and I are so happy to be with all of you today. Before we dive into our PowerPoint presentation, just want to make a couple of comments. First, we're here, as many of you may know, because a little over a week ago, we released our annual security report, which, as many of you know, is a requirement of the Federal Clery Act. And this report was emailed out to over 100,000 individuals on our campus and is also available on our website. Hopefully, many or all of you received that report. And perhaps some of you have already been able to review it or the supporting documents that accompanied it. We also had a lot of media reports around it. and an At the U article. So apologies, because I am positive there are many of you out there that have heard this presentation once, twice. This could even be your third time. So we'll try and make it as exciting as possible. But obviously, when we were preparing this report, we recognized early on that we were going to need to do some additional education and outreach to our campus because of some unusually and alarming high numbers, specifically in our rape and dating violence sections. So after consultation with many of our internal and external partners, including Campus Wellness, the McCluskey Center, Utah Domestic Violence Coalition, Rape Recovery Center, I could go on. It was clear that we needed to take this opportunity to not just talk about the report and the numbers, but to talk about the realities of dating violence. So there is one particular case that Todd is going to cover in today's presentation that will help account for these very high numbers. And while we do have to be careful with how much information we release on this particular individual, I do think it's important for this group to know that in this case, along with other similar cases, we follow our protocol of connecting victims to one of our crime victim advocates who, as I'm sure you know, provides support and resources, whether or not the victim decides to pursue criminal charges. It is not uncommon that victims do not want to go through that process. So, Todd, if you're with us, I think we can probably pull up your PowerPoint
Yes, ma'am.
right
Yes, ma'am.
now, and we'll dive into that and answer any questions you all may have.
Outstanding. Thank you very much, Kim. As Kim stated, my name is Todd Justison. I'm going to go ahead and start my presentation. Okay. And if somebody could verbally give me a yes or no, do you see the start of the presentation where it just says 2024 Annual Security
Yes.
Report? Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, then.
We also
going the
see
right-
your next slide notes as well.
We're seeing the presenters.
All right, let's
display.
see what we can do then. Sorry about that. We may end up going that because, let's see. Let's try that one more time, and if this time it don't work, that's okay. We'll just stick to what we got. Okay, let's try this one more time, folks. Presenters view this time.
That looks like it's it.
Yep, looks good, Todd.
All right, thank you very much. All right, folks. So first, I am going to be talking about sexual assault as well as elements of dating violence. Therefore, if you need to turn your camera off, that's fine. No problem whatsoever. If you need to turn my microphone off, you can do that as well. You'll see the last slide just says questions. So take care of yourself. Do whatever you need to do. This presentation is 7 slides long. Therefore, I'm going to be relatively to the point. So talk first what the Clery Act is. The Clery Act is a federal law that was implemented in 1990, and it states that universities must release the last 3 years of crime statistics, as well as talk about safety and security policies on their campus. It is meant to be a consumer protection act, not only for people that are currently at the university that is being sent out, so faculty, staff, and students, hospitals, guests, anyone that's currently at the University of Utah. In addition, though, it's meant to also inform future students, future faculty members, future staff members that can pull up the annual security report 24/7 anytime they want. It's on our website, and say, I want to know the crime statistics as well as I want to know the safety security policies for the University of Utah. So it's all around consumer protection. That's the reason this act has been created. So talking about how statistics are counted when reported. It's not always when they occur. The example I'm going to give is I was a University of Utah student back in the 90s. So in 1998, if I came in today to the University of Utah Police Department and said, hey, back in 1998, I was standing in line to get tickets to an athletic event, and somebody grabbed my genitalia, which is considered fondling in Clery, the stat would count now. It would count in 2024. It would not count for 1998. And it's just to make sure the consumer is protected based upon what is reported, even if it is, from years past. It does not take responsible, guilty, or investigation. It's as reported. So once again, if the police said, okay, when did this take place, Todd? And I said 1998. They said, what month? I don't recall. What event? I don't recall. What did the person look like? I don't remember. It still goes back to reporting because it's based on the report, not investigation or response for guilty. The only time it is not counted is what they call unfounded. So I'm going to read this because this is direct Clery language. A Clery Act crime reported to have occurred on Clery Act geography, thoroughly investigated by sworn or commissioned law enforcement personally, and found through investigation to be false or baseless, meaning that the crime did not occur and was never attempted. The example I'll give to you is if I stated I was robbed today when I was going to the union. So I arrived in my vehicle and police were able to watch camera from the time I arrived in my vehicle at the union to the time I exited my vehicle, walked up and touched the front door, and no one even approached me at any time. And that's the time period I stated I was robbed. That's the only time they could say unfounded, as law enforcement has conclusive evidence or that it is fully baseless or false. So I'm going to touch quickly on interpersonal violence. So interpersonal violence, it's physical, sexual, or psychological, also called emotional, and could involve deprivation and neglect. Specifically, the type I'm talking about today is sexual violence. So example of sexual violence are rape, unwanted touching, fondling, and oral, anal, vaginal penetration, or sexual violence where the person is forcing the victim to look at their abuser's genitalia, or they take naked pictures and send them out without the victim's permission. All of this, I tell you, because this year in our rape statistics, the University of Utah reported 175 rapes and 158 dating violences. But this is based on one victim survivor reported being raped by their intimate partner 150 times in on-campus student housing over the course of the relationship that happened in 21-22. So it significantly increased our numbers. It was 30 last year, and now it's 175. This did go out in our report last week. So these statistics are published on our website as well as in our annual security report. I'm now just going to touch quickly on stalking. So it's engaging in a course of conduct at a specific person, 2 or more acts that would cause a reasonable person to be in substantial emotional distress. I'm not a big fan of the word substantial emotional distress, but that's Clery language. But it's mainly if a person fears for their safety. For example, if today, after watching this presentation, you sent me an email and said, I didn't like your presentation style, you should watch your back. And then tomorrow I arrive in the office, you call me on my office line and say, did you receive my email? And I say, yes, I received my email. Then you better watch your back. I'm serious. Those 2 acts, distinct acts on Clery geography, would count as stalking. Now, if I chose not to have it investigated, if I chose not to have anything other than a report, it still counts because there's a lower threshold. Now, I don't think a district attorney would pick that up and say, yes, I am going to prosecute this case to the fullest extent of the law, but it would still say, yes, Clery says you are being stalked because of those 2 acts. This year, we reported 117 cases of stalking on the University of Utah, up from 69. This is our first post-COVID, because it's 2023, first post-COVID where we have residence halls completely packed, hospitals full, as well as most return to work. Most folks are back in the office. This is our first year. This is not to be viewed as a negative number because this, to me, means 117 people was able to get assistance through the University of Utah, Victim Support Advocates, Center for Campus Wellness, OEO, Office of Opportunity and Affirmative Action, and University Police Department was able to assist these people. As I started this presentation, I said it is about consumer protection. Clery wants us to get in contact with as many people as possible, provide them resources, because no one wants to come to college or work at a university and state, I had a traumatic incident and I left. Instead, it's we supported and assisted people to stay at the University of Utah. So the continued timeline first, this report did go out on September 19th. By October 15th, I'm going to submit all these statistics to the Department of Education. I've already been working with the Department of Education on the statistic, and they were the one that advised me how to move forward with 175, knowing 150 were unique, 1-to-1. And finally, I'm going to be submitting it to the state of Utah, the Educational Interim Committee, and Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice Interim Committee for the state of Utah. This is the first year I submitted directly to them. Traditionally, it goes to UUSC and then to the state legislators, but they passed a state law that I am to submit it. It went into effect on July 1, so I will submit it on November 1 directly to the state of Utah for them to review the statistic as well as to ask any questions of us. What questions can I answer for anybody on this call?
You know, I saw one question in the chat.
Yes, ma'am.
That does ask from Jason, how is that possible? And not sure if you wanted to elaborate. Are you talking maybe about one individual reporting 150 rapes?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great question. Todd, you want to start or you want me to start?
Sure. So I can state that the member of our community came in and was working with our detectives about a part of an element of the case. During the element of the case, they were speaking with the individual to try to establish, was it dating violence or domestic violence? Domestic would mean you share a domicile or you share a youth in common, a child in common. Dating violence would be more like separated accounts, most likely never lived together. One of the questions a detective asks to understand the relationship of interpersonal violence is, have you had consensual intercourse with the other individual? And that's where it came out that consent was not given. And then that's where the number came out. So it was in one interview. And when the person reported, well, the intercourse that I engaged in, I don't believe was consensual. And the statistic then come out directly from this individual.
And Todd, maybe I'll just kind of even go more fundamental in that.
Sure.
You know, I think in some instances in dating violence and in unhealthy relationships, rape can occur commonly and can occur. In this case, this individual was reporting almost daily during the relationship, but that, as I had mentioned before, an opportunity for us to educate folks on dating violence, where rape can be a part of an unhealthy relationship and can happen often. So I hope we're answering your question, but I think it's, that came up a lot that we heard. Wow, one individual, 150, as you just asked, how is that possible?
All right. Any other questions for Todd or Kim? All right. Well, thank you again so very much for presenting this and explaining this and giving us this update. Again, if you wouldn't mind just dropping in the chat the link to the webpage that has all this info, I think that would be a great resource.
Okay, excellent. All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you. And as I look at our clock, we have 15 minutes left, just time enough for some liaison updates. So Andrea Brown, is she on the call? Didn't see her per se. Andrea Brown going once, twice. Moving on. Let's see. Amanda Garcia or Byron, are either of you on the call to talk about the new UUHC attendance policy?
Yes, I am here for Byron.
Yay! All right.
Okay, I'm going to put a couple of links in the chat as well. So, like you said, Marie, UUHC, Hospitals and Clinics, has updated their attendance policy. So this is a pretty big deal. It's the first time there's ever been a universal attendance policy. But for those of you on the call, it only applies to hospitals and clinics. So don't be worried here if you're not part of that group. But just really quick for you all, a little background. So about 18 months ago or more, we're saying 18 months. I think it's actually been going on longer than that. This universal policy has been in the works. And as you can imagine, it takes a great lift and lots of involvement from many different stakeholders to get something of this magnitude, being that it's universal for the hospitals and clinic side through all of those approvals. Coming from the campus side, though, I think it's actually easier. I'm just going to throw that out there than getting any policy through campus side. But I kid with love. Okay, so what this looks like is previously there were not common definitions on simple things like what is an occurrence, what counts, what is a no-call, no-show. Those types of definitions have now been solidified. We're going off one definition for everybody. The other piece that I'll say is we let each department kind of define occurrences, and so those mean unscheduled absences and how many of those would be allowed per department, right? And so we've taken that away and put that in the universal policy. And so right now we allow 8 unscheduled absences to happen in a rolling calendar year, with the 9th occurrence being where the violation occurs. So that's when you actually violate the policy, is if you have 9 unscheduled absences in a rolling calendar year. These are outside of, hey, I scheduled my vacation, all of those, I scheduled my dentist appointment ahead of time. Completely outside of those, these are if I call in and miss my entire shift. So violation occurring at 9 would be a written warning, and then 10 final written warning, and so on and so forth down our progressive discipline path. The other piece that, yes, this is for hospital and clinics only, Chantel. The other piece that this policy really calls out, and it's been something that we can do prior, but this policy really calls out, is patterns of behavior. So things like, I requested a day off, you told me no, and then I called in anyway. If you do that a couple times, that can be viewed as a pattern of abuse. So we go through and kind of define some of those. It's not an all-inclusive list, but it does give some definition around what does a pattern of abuse look like. The other piece of the policy that we also define is which parts should be under local control, right? So think about things like late-ins. So it's not going to be as critical for someone who works in our file room. If they're late, it's not going to be as critical as someone who needs to get bedside report from the outgoing unit or the outgoing staff. And so with that, we have decided that each service line, as high up as possible, will determine what late-ins, missed punches, how many of those things are allowed per their service line, and redefine those in conjunction with the universal policy. But the universal policy itself, while it defines what a late-in is, does not define how many are allowed before there's a violation of policy. Okay, and then a little bit to kind of back up on the background of this. Like I said, we've been going through this for about 18 months. There's been so many focus groups, so many executive sponsors to kind of get this going. And really where this came from was from the Better You surveys, where people said, I need more time off. I need more time off. And so we're like, I think we have a pretty rich benefit. So let's look into that. And what we found through the focus groups is it wasn't necessarily the amount of accruals that we give people. It was the amount of times we let people call in before they're given a discipline. And so we upped that amount. So previously, the most common was the violation occurred at 6, and now that violation is occurring at 9. So we've allowed more. Still want to have people schedule time when and if at all possible, just so that we can plan for, the 24/7 operation that we have and patient care and things like that. But want to definitely take action on a very outdated and confusing policy and lots of different policies and kind of put it all in one and show our people that we're listening. So
Awesome.
any questions there?
I so appreciate that you've been answering questions in real time, live. It's great. Well, thank you so much, Amanda. And obviously, if anyone has any questions, I would suggest they reach out to you, right?
Yes, yes, please.
And I'm actually not gonna go in order of the rest of our ex officios, but I'm gonna just go through people who've added things to the agenda first and foremost. So Erin Sullivan, I guess who is not on the call, but I'll just call out. She wanted to point out that OEO has a new director, Jess Morrison, and that there are some important non-discrimination policy updates effective as of this past August 1st. The policy 1-012, University Non-Discrimination Policy, Rule R10112A, 012A, Non-Discrimination Rule, Rule R10112B, which is Complaint Process Rule, and Rule R10102C, which is the Student Pregnancy or Related Conditions Rule. That's a brand new rule. And there is an article, recent at the U article about the new regulations supporting students who are pregnant or experiencing pregnancy-related conditions. Any questions, please feel free to contact Erin. Moving on to Kara Friedman.
My camera doesn't seem to be working, but hopefully you can hear me.
Absolutely.
Great. Oh, okay.
There you are.
We got something. Yeah, my announcement is about the Clear the Air Challenge. This was in the Staff Council newsletter, but that started yesterday. It's going on for 6 weeks, so October 1 through November 15th. And it's essentially a way to encourage you all to think about how you can include sustainable transportation options, whether that's carpooling, trip chaining, taking the bus, taking tracks, even biking to work. Rather than driving on your own. And we also want to celebrate all of us who are already doing these amazing things because that's pretty cool. And so if you log a certain number of trips, I think it's 20 total over the 6-week period, you'll be eligible to win a bunch of really cool prizes, including a brand new e-bike and a set of AirPods. So this is something, there's also some smaller prizes each week. And so I encourage you all to sign up and see if you can encourage one of your workmates, a friend, to play along with you.
Excellent. Excellent. And thank you for the reminder. I have to log my trip today of telecommuting. Ray, I see you have a question.
Yes. I was thinking about the enter to win prizes. If you are entering for the weekly drawings or if you receive if you win one of the weekly drawings, does that take away from one of the bigger overall drawings?
I can find out for you, but I don't believe so. I think they're separate. I think it's and you'll see this in the like main page where you log the trips. There's some really nice dashboards there showing like week 1, trip, 0 out of 1. Have you submitted it so that you're eligible for this week's prize drawing? And I think those are all going to be separate. But I can find out.
Excellent. Excellent. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Kara. And thank you for the reminder. Just logged today's travel. Love it. Next up is Solomon Brumbaugh from Commuter Services. Solomon, what's going on?
Hello, hello. Just a quick update from things that we've discussed in the past. Let's see. So we just are wrapping up our vehicle and bicycle parking occupancy program. We do it every year. Bicycles we do twice a year. Vehicles we do every year. We're finishing that this week. And moving forward, the vehicle occupancy will be done through a new program, which will also be available to everyone to show where parking is available. The RFP for that program just closed. We're working through contracting and we'll be rolling out over the next year.
Exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. Everyone who has trouble finding parking should, those complaints should come down a little bit.
Excellent.
A quick recap of OHVs on campus. These are the bicycles that aren't bicycles. There are many of them on campus. They are parked often at bike racks. If you see them, please let us know. They are supposed to park in motorcycle parking. There is a procedure for them to be able to do that. They shouldn't be driving on the sidewalks. That's our biggest concern, is that it's a safety issue because those things can go 40 plus miles an hour on the sidewalks. So we don't want them on sidewalks, which means we don't want them on bike racks. An update to the EV chargers that we were donated last winter. We are going to be installing the first wave of 49 chargers in the next month or so. It's in plan review right now. It's a pretty basic plan. We're installing them mostly in garages because it's very easy to do. And then we will begin working on the exterior lots. So if you park in a surface parking lot, we aren't really touching a lot of those locations because they're harder to run utilities to. But anywhere that there's a current charging station, we are expanding, and then we're adding more chargers to all of the garages. Other than that, a little bit of a disappointing news is the Tickets for Training parking ticket diversion program is facing some major technical difficulties. So we're hoping to roll it out in the spring now. It was supposed to be available this fall, but we're shooting for the spring now. It is still working, still moving forward, but we couldn't launch it because it would have been a completely manual process. So yeah, that's about it.
Well, keep us posted because we'll definitely want to share that when it's up and running for sure.
Yes, very excited.
Any questions for Solomon? All right. Well, in our last few minutes, do any of our other liaisons, ex officios, have anything they'd like to share? All right, Mandy, what's shaking?
Shout out everyone who came to EAD, volunteered at EAD, participated in EAD in any way. It went super smooth this year. So again, I couldn't have done it without volunteers, staff council or otherwise. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, EAD was amazing. It was a treat. And yeah, and thank you for all you did to make that happen, Mandy. And when does the next committee start for next year? Soon?
Honestly, I book the venue, and basically as soon as the football schedule is out, I book the venue. So
Good.
whenever next year, early next year. So
never too soon. Never too soon. All right. In our remaining minute, anyone have anything they'd like to bring up or shout outs? Thoughts or feelings? I just want to say I'm grateful for all of you and this community of staff. This was a rockin' call today. I just want y'all to know we hit 98 attendees, I saw is our high today. So I want to give a big shout to Ashley for making that happen. Ashley Johnson, ladies and gentlemen, Ashley Johnson. Yeah. No. Anybody else? All right. Well, then I wish you all a stunning evening and give you your 30 to 45 seconds back. All right. Talk to you later. Have a great week. Bye.